Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Ayub, and today I want to talk about the single most humbling lesson I've learned in my HCI course this semester. So, the biggest lesson that HCI taught me was that you are not the user. It's not about Fitts law, it's not about affordances, it's not about Nielsen heuristics. Although, we'll talk about these topics as well, it's something more fundamental. Something that honestly changed how I see every interface, every app, every design decision I encounter. And the lesson is again, you are not the user. And once you really get that, everything changes. So, the deeper I got into HCI, the more I realized how much massive of an empathy gap there really is. So, if you think about accessibility for a moment, before this course, if I'm being honest, I thought about accessibility as an afterthought. It's like a nice to have feature. Then, we did an exercise about, using a screen reader in class. So I tried doing that on my own. And I tried to navigate using a screen reader. Uh, and trust me, it was impossible for me. Buttons with no labels, images with no alt text, forms that jumped around unpredictably. Things that used to take me 30 to 40 seconds with a mouse, they took me like frustrating multiple minutes with a screen reader. And this wasn't some, obscure site, it was a major university portal. And according to WHO, 1 billion people, suffer from disabilities. So, what this really means is that we're not talking about a niche user group. This is like 1/8 of the humanity currently. And, most of them are navigating interfaces designed by people who have never even experienced those barriers. I think it goes beyond disability as well. Uh, it's about cognitive load, age, technical literacy, cultural context. Someone using your app in like a rural area on like a very spotty 3G connection, they have a completely different need than us as programmers or computer scientists, testing it on like a university Wi-Fi or a very stable Wi-Fi connection. So Don Norman, talks about this in his design of everyday things. This is the designer's curse, the curse of knowledge. So once you know something, once you know how it works, you cannot really unknow it. I don't think you can really unlearn it. So you can't really see your designs through a fresh perspective. That's why, HCI taught me. That's how HCI taught me that user research isn't optional. It's like, the core of a good design. So how can we bridge the gap? So some of the main things I was thinking about was, how can we fix this? How do we design for users who aren't us? So the first thing that we learned, that I learned was that, it's user research. Not asking your roommate if your design looks good, not asking another classmate who are all CS majors. I mean, contextual inquiry, watching real users in the real environments struggle with the real tasks. There's a reason why, every human computer interaction methodology emphasizes this. You cannot assume, you must observe the user and how they react. So, the second thing I thought was the personas and scenarios. At first, I had in mind that, maybe personas were just busy work, making up fake people with fake needs. But when done right, they're powerful. They force you to embody different mental models. It gets you asking, would a 65-year-old librarian be comfortable using this? Will like uh, a labor worker, who works out in the indirect sunlight, be actually able to read these colors in a very high sunlight environment? So these things actually matter. Third thing, it was heuristic evaluation. heuristic evaluation through diverse lenses. Take Nielsen's 10 usability heuristics. Maybe recognition rather than recall. This sounds very simple, but there's more to it. When you're designing for someone with memory impairments or someone using your app maybe once a month versus every day, running heuristics isn't a checklist, it's maybe a thought experiment, it's a perspective taking experiment. And apart from that, the fourth thing would be inclusive design. This is something I learned mostly at Habib University. I had a course with Dr. Anzar Khalik. It was Design Your Habib Experience. So he used to tell us in that class that, you're supposed to design for the edges. And once you're designing for the edges, you just cover everything in the middle itself. So that is all of our users. So that's a really, simple formula. Even in Microsoft's inclusive design toolkit, this was a great principle. Design for permanent, temporary, and situational disabilities. A person with one arm experiences the same barriers as someone holding, a baby in one hand, and or someone carrying groceries while using their phone. So it's really important to take these things under account for to bridge the gaps between the user and the designer. So once this mindset actually clicks in, you cannot turn it off. I just notice how when an app assumes everyone has perfect vision, everyone just has a permanent address there. When voice interfaces assume everyone speaks with a certain accent, I cringe at designs I created before this course. So the designs were technically proficient, but they were kind of empathetically bankrupt. That's what we've learned in this course so far. That empathetic design is what actually matters. So yeah, the biggest lesson HCI taught me, it was, you, my friend, are not the user. The user is the person that you're designing it for, and the four principles that we talked about will always help you in bridging the gap between the user and the designer. Thanks for listening.